Hey, so my childhood growing up, I lived in a very structured household. An only child. Parents were still together, raised, yeah, only child. But by two parents who believed in having, a lot of discipline, a lot of structure, to try to figure out what it is that I liked and I didn't like, and I started off playing a lot of sports, and that's one of the best avenues, especially at that especially during that time was like the easiest avenue to get kids involved because it involved being outside, interacting with others, and learning how to team build and work with other people. So I did I did soccer for I think 4 or 5 years, and I was actually really good. I was actually a decent player. I was good at goalie because I was one of the only kids who could actually drop kick a soccer ball. One of those like random things about me was that when I was younger, we had a tree that was shaped like a V, almost kind of like went up into some uprights, um, and I would always practice kicking the football through there. Like whether it was like during a commercial break or during halftime of any football game that we were watching, I'd always be going outside and learning how to drop kick the football through the uprights. For whatever reason, I have no clue, but that was where I learned how to do that, which made me good at soccer. Made me good at being a goalie because I could kick the ball across the entire field. But I ended up quitting soccer because to tell you the truth, the fields got too big, and I didn't like to run. Any other position but goalie, I hated playing. And one of my most embarrassing moments was that I was looking like when I wasn't playing goalie and I was looking to score a goal, and I was looking at the ball versus like right in front of me. I ran right into a goalpost and knocked myself out. So needless to say, I'm not sure what season that was, but it wasn't too much farther after that where I ended up quitting soccer. So I didn't like running, knocked my head in the goalpost. It just wasn't for me. Next, I picked up basketball. I said, cool. Running sucks, but maybe it'll be cool in air conditioning. And I love basketball, love the sport. My parents actually used to have, they used to take away my basketball privileges if I was acting up as a kid. I used to love going out there and shooting free throws, just shot after shot, 3 pointer after 3 pointer, and it was just for whatever it is, I love to do it. It was almost like a meditation, if you will. I was clearing my head. I was getting better at something. I didn't tell you the truth. I didn't really have any of that awareness back then. I just loved to do it. And then I figured out really quickly that I didn't like running inside either. And so I played a season or two. I think it was like I think I was on the C team in seventh grade. And I don't know. I don't know. It didn't really seem like it was for me. And I put some effort into it. And same thing with soccer, but um, I don't know. There wasn't really any like passion or any fire to like really continue that. I played a season of coach pitch baseball within that time frame. That was it. I just didn't like playing baseball. And so then I found swimming. And I found swimming, and also in this time period, I picked up learning how to play the guitar, and swimming was the one thing where I felt pretty natural at. I was, it was a lot of hard work. I was probably in the best shape I'd ever been. Which is the irony of that is funny because it's way harder than running, in my opinion, way harder than basketball, way harder than well, soccer is probably the closest thing to it as far as like endurance and stamina. But I was in the pool. I loved it. My mom was a former swimmer. And it was nice to have kind of like, and me and my mother were able to like build a bond over that because she was a competitive swimmer in elementary, junior high, and high school as well. I did this for about 10 years. Played the guitar for probably about between 7 and 8 years as well. And I ended up getting injured. I ended up getting injured. It was kind of like right around the time when the not necessarily CrossFit, but like CrossFit type activities were starting to become popular, like the burpees. That was when that first came out, and we didn't really have the right instruction or the proper instruction to learn how to do that. So I ended up hurting myself. I got tendonitis in both arms, right here, both of my elbows, and it put me out of commission in the pool for about 6 months. I mean, I was still there. I was going and kicking literally the entire time. Had a kickboard and paddles and fins, and just kicked the entire practice. needless to say, my legs were in really good shape. But other than that, it was pretty demotivating. And while like I wasn't like adding time, I wasn't dropping time either. Swimming is one of those things where dropping time is you want to drop time. Um, but at that point in time in my life, I started like realizing like my life was so structured, and it was, I never really felt like I got to breathe. And I felt like, I felt like all my friends were getting to go like hang out and party and like do what they want to do, and like, like I don't know, just be more social. Because my life, like, and any swimmer who's listening or watching to this, it's when you're a competitive swimmer, like swimming is your life. Like like you live, breathe, think about the pool all day. Because up at 5 a.m. in the pool by 5:45, going to class, and then getting out of school, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the pool again. Weekends were swim meets. Thursdays were high school swim meets, and there was maybe like one weekend off. And doing uh when I wasn't doing school, when I wasn't swimming, I was finishing up with schoolwork, and also playing video games as well. Because that's kind of where my love for video games fell into play. Was like I didn't really have a whole lot of energy to do a lot of social things after I got done with that type of a workout, twice a day. And so I found a place where I could socially interact and, be just as competitive online. And it was a lot of fun, and so that was like my way of, I don't know, is a weird way of like relaxing, but also being social at the same time. My parents would probably disagree on the relaxing part, because I can't tell you how many times I would just rage and have them come in concerned and ask why I played the game so much if I hated it, and I won't ever be able to explain that to them. Um, but anyway, like circling back, I saw my friends getting to have a social life, and I didn't really have one. And I always felt within me that I was a little off, a little different, little this, little that. And I just never really, for whatever reason, I just never felt like I really quite fit in. Swimmers were the people I fit in with, just because we had that like common bond of like, going to practice every day and like understanding the struggles, and it was good, but it wasn't that like, I don't know. It was just something that I wasn't. It just felt like there was something that was missing from me. And to this day, I still don't know what it is. I can't really tell you. And so that's kind of really like right when I tap the brakes, really not tap the brakes, but pump the brakes entirely to a screeching halt on swimming. I ended up quitting swimming and playing guitar all at the same time to go hang out with my friends. And really what that meant was like going to get high. And that's kind of when my story started of of experimenting with drugs, drinking on the weekends, smoking a lot of pot, doing Xanax here and there. Well, no, that wasn't until later, but doing ecstasy, experimenting with LSD. Like that was kind of when all this went into play. And the point I'm making up to this, up to here is like anything that required a lot of me, anything that required a real challenge. I quit right when it was about to get good, because my body was I was a late bloomer when it came to puberty. So my body didn't really develop, for swimming the right way until, really right around the age 17, 18, and that was right when I quit swimming. So I had that injury that plateaued me. And then so that demotivated me along the lines with like, I don't know, wanting to do something besides swimming. Like my life was so structured at that time. I went the complete opposite, which, looking back, I probably could have talked to my parents and found something that was still structured, but I didn't have to go completely left field, but that's my MO. We go really hard in the paint one way, go hard in the paint the other way. But why I'm talking about this is that like, anything that's been worthwhile, anything that's required a lot of effort, I've quit right when it was about to like get good. I quit right when the real effort was going to start to take place. I can only imagine where I would have gone if I would have continued swimming along with my body developing at the rate that it was at that time. But who knows? And that's literally been the story of my life is doing something 80%. Doing something, not half-ass. I would put in a lot of work, but I wouldn't put in enough work, and I would put in just enough to get some good results, but not the best results, and fast forward that to to 2013, when I was getting sober. I remember telling myself, I was so beaten down and broken and miserable at the time. I remember telling myself, I'll give this one honest shot and I'll give it 100% of what I got. This will be the first thing that I have 100% committed to, and will give everything I got for as long as I need to, because I'm tired of living the way I am. And that was the first thing that I've done, that I really like actually committed to, and am still committing to this day. Granted, as time goes on and we grow and we change and we're still human, and certain parts have fallen off and they come back on, and I don't work a perfect program, but the point is that I remain honest, willing, and open minded to continue. And all of this is to make a point around where I've been in content creation. And so I started doing Twitch, started streaming on Twitch about a year ago. A little over a year ago. I was extremely unhappy, personally and professionally, and I was looking for an outlet, and I had already sold my previous Xbox setup, because I wasn't really doing anything productive. I was just isolating from the entire world, so I decided to sell it initially. And the irony is that, probably about a year after I sold it, I basically ended up buying the complete setup back, plus a gaming computer, plus a chair, plus monitors, plus plus all this other shit. And it was it was really simple. I was unhappy, and so I wanted to be happy. And that was right around the time where also my program of recovery was also lacking a little bit too. I wasn't as fulfilled in that area of my life either. So you combine the two, and it turned out to be, it was definitely pretty rough in the beginning, but anyway, it turned out to be something great, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but here I am learning from them. But one thing I realized is that, I put in a lot of effort in the beginning, and I still put in a lot of effort even till probably, 6 to 8 months ago. And then I started just feeling like stagnant. I started feeling stagnant, and I chose to ignore it. I would constantly go back and forth in my head on like whether it was enough, whether it wasn't. Like, am I doing the right thing? Were my parents and is everyone else right that like this thing is not something worth pursuing? It's not going to provide any real long-term value. So all these things happen. But what I woke up to is that I kept preventing myself from going to the next level by the thought of my own head telling me that I didn't have enough time. You guys, like, I wasted so much time telling myself I didn't have enough time that I actually didn't have enough time, if that makes any sense. It would take me so long to do tasks that were so quick, and I would think that it would need to be some grand production and all the things professional. Meanwhile, I have no experience in doing any of this, and I have this like really high expectation of where this needs to be. But really it was just a cop out because I was afraid of, really being able to sustain, the stamina to continue to produce, different types of content, branching off to different areas, going over different topics, bringing additional value where I can. I constantly told myself I wasn't good enough or that it was never possible, and it's crazy to see that, like, up to that point, I'd done about 80%, and I remember I woke up, it was actually listening to a Gary Vee episode, Gary Vee podcast, in which, by the way, like, that also played a big factor in it. Like, I heard him continuously pushing, like, like TikTok, LinkedIn, like content at scale, this, and that. And I'm like, I'm doing that. And I'm like judging all these people, who are struggling. But it's like, I'm struggling myself because I'm not doing that. And it's really a lot more simple than I think it is. It's insanely more simple than I think it is. Posting something on Instagram takes maybe 2 to 5 minutes out of my day. To think of a thoughtful post, put a creative picture, and I think I paid $1 for an app that stored all my hashtags. I was so unwilling to do that in the past. I'm like, oh, Instagram's tough. Oh, Twitter's the only one I really want to grow on. It's easier for me. But it's like, there's an audience on every platform that I'm on. I have so many IRL friends that support me through Facebook. I can't force them. I shouldn't force them to get a Twitter. I can't force them to follow me on Instagram. I can't force them to like watch my Twitch videos every time I go live. But here's what I can do. I can take any lesson I've learned, any tweet, any video, any game clip, any memorable moment, and I can share it to all three platforms. plus I can also start doing audio. Really, it doesn't take that much time. But when I kept telling myself I didn't have enough time, I was setting myself up for that 80% again. Like here he goes again, doing something 80% and then quits right when it was about to start getting good. And it's just it's a crazy thing that we get in our own way and we limit ourselves to our what's the word I'm looking for, to our true potential. We as humans, at least for I can only speak for myself, but I can only imagine other people relate. Is that we think really negatively of ourselves, and part of being a content creator is like the one, in my opinion, the biggest piece, and I'm like it's self-awareness. It's awareness of what I'm good at, what I'm not. Is this really what I want to do? Constantly questioning myself, constantly putting the next right foot forward. If something doesn't work, am I giving up, or am I continuing to persevere? Looking at my track record, look at what I'm really doing, and being able to recognize progress, but also hold myself accountable without beating myself up. And guys, I'm still not there yet. Like I still beat myself up, when I don't do something that's to my expectations or where I think I should be, or this and that. And the reality is all bullshit. Because if I take a look back at what I've been doing, I've been providing, I've been providing value for a year, but yet my own mind says I'm not doing shit. And my own mind is also the thing that that prohibits me from really getting more content out there. Whether it's through esports, whether it's, through the podcast, whether it's through YouTube videos, whether it's through game clips, whether it's through more Twitch streams, whether it's through more community engagement, whatever the case may be, whether it's through my dog's Instagram. I'm starting to post on that a lot more as well. She's a beautiful dog and needs to be seen. I mean, she is my logo, mascot, and like literally every part of my life. So this, that's basically been my MO. And guys, it's since I started doing the podcast, the past 5 days, it's been fucking amazing, man. Like there's a whole nother level of energy when I realize that like I can do the things I need to do, and that I'm just terrible at managing my own time and myself. And I think that that's one of the things, like as long as I can manage my own time and my own self, and my own thoughts, the rest of it falls into place. But when I'm constantly telling myself something, it's always going to happen. If I tell myself I'm going to be doing a podcast, if I'm motivated to do a podcast, I'm going to find ways to do it. Guys, I think the third or fourth episode, was recorded in my bed after I did a stream. And I kept telling myself, oh, I should wait till the morning. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I'm too this. Literally took 10 minutes. And in the morning I found a cool little intro and a cool, and did an intro to it and did a ending to it and found some cool little clips, like all from my phone. It literally took no time to do that. So if you're struggling with like saying I don't have enough time, really be honest with your day and look at where you can do things versus telling yourself where you can't. Are you watching a shit ton of Netflix? Are you mindlessly scrolling social media? Are you, I don't know, whatever the case may be. Are you spending more time in certain places than you really need to because of the fear of what other people think about it? I don't know. I know that's true for me. I would sit down, eat dinner, or I'd cook dinner really quick, and then I'd sit down to eat a show on my couch watching a TV show, but then it would take all this effort to get back up, get off the couch, make sure the TV show was finished, and it threw a funk, it threw a wrench in my day, it threw a wrench in my night, and I lost a lot of momentum. So if you're struggling with time management, getting honest with yourself is probably the biggest. It's probably the biggest piece for you, man. Like you got to get honest with yourself if you want to change, and you have to want to change to change. One of my buddies put that out on Twitter the other day. It's mind-blowingly simple, but it's how far we overlook that. So yeah, that's kind of went went all over the place with that. But hopefully this provided some value to you. And I'll be cranking out more for you. Love you guys.